So let's tackle this big question I get all the time, which is, can you use health insurance for couples therapy or marriage counseling? I wish I could say yes, but most of the time the answer is no. And here's why. Health insurance companies only cover treatment for psychiatric conditions like anxiety, depression, or other mental health disorders. Your health insurance does not care about the quality of your relationship. It is not medically necessary for you to be happy with your partner. So, if you are in therapy and your therapist is billing insurance for couples counseling, what that means is that they're not actually calling it couples counseling because couples counseling is not covered by insurance. The only thing they could call it is family therapy for the treatment of the identified patient. One of you needs to be diagnosed with a psychiatric condition. And then a therapist needs to conduct the sessions in such a way that it is focused on treatment of that disorder, not on repairing your relationship. And this is a big deal because therapists actually need to be providing health care if they are using insurance, not focusing on helping you have a healthy relationship. So now it's also important to say that if one of you does have a psychiatric condition, there is major depressive disorder, untreated substance use disorder, you can bet that that's definitely going to cause relationship problems, and it is absolutely appropriate to go into therapy to treat that, and also absolutely appropriate to use your insurance because those are legitimate psychiatric conditions. But if what you really need is help for your relationship, health insurance is not going to cover that, and that is a good thing. Paying out of pocket for this is the way to go, and I will tell you why. Because when you want to use health insurance, you are going to see a therapist who is paneled with health insurance companies, right? They're going to take your insurance. And because their income comes from providing mental health treatment, diagnosis and treatment of psychiatric disorders, that means by definition, they are a clinical mental health specialist. That is what they do, and appropriately so. The world needs this. But somebody who specializes in relationships, a licensed marriage and family therapist, especially one who incorporates relationship coaching psychology, is not going to accept insurance because they're not providing health care. They specialize in helping people improve their relationships, which is a totally different thing. And so when you sign up to try to use insurance for couples counseling, you are signing up to work with somebody who is probably not qualified to help you have the kind of relationship healing experience that you want and deserve. And this is not a guarantee. I mean, you could pay lots of people out of pocket. It could still be the wrong person. But in my experience, it is difficult to find a true relationship specialist, a marriage and family therapist who really focuses on relationship coaching. It is difficult to find one who is in network with a health insurance provider because it's just not what they do, right? So think about this in your mind if, that can we use insurance for couples counseling is something that feels like a barrier. Maybe if you're telling yourself that you need to use insurance for couples counseling, I hope that understanding how this really works can impact the trajectory of couples counseling, because so many people ask this question, like, is couples counseling covered by insurance? I put together a really comprehensive and detailed article on this subject. You can access it at my website if you'd like to, growingself.com/marriage counseling covered by insurance, all separated with hyphens. I know that's a mouthful, but in this article, I really go through some case studies, actually, and help to paint a picture of, not just can you or can't you use couples counseling, but truly some of the honestly negative consequences that I have seen from people who try to go this route. Because again, if you use couples counseling, one of you must be diagnosed with something, and that therapist must be focusing those sessions on the identified patient's treatment, or they're committing insurance fraud. And so what happens in couples counseling is that it starts to turn into one person's fault. It is your anxiety disorder. It is your depressive disorder, whatever the disorder is. And it turns into this thing where it creates a story in the relationship. We are having problems because of this person's depression. And yes, if the person does have a major depressive disorder, it will cause problems. It does need to be treated. Absolutely valid. However, if you're working with a therapist who is trying to shoehorn in this whole health insurance thing to make it work because you want to use your health insurance, they need to diagnose somebody with something. And so it turns into this, you find what you're looking for, and it changes the dynamic of what's happening in couples counseling. The person who has been diagnosed tends to feel singled out and blamed. The person who has not been diagnosed starts to think, yeah, it really is their fault, instead of looking at how they are also contributing to the relational cycle. I mean, think about it. If you were the person who was holding the diagnosis for both of you, how that would feel for you, especially if, sure, you have transient anxiety sometimes, just like everybody else in the world, but now it is really becoming the focus of couples counseling sessions, and your partner's like, yeah, it's been so hard, to live with her, whatever. So just think about this and just hold that in your mind. Check out the article that I put together, growingself.com, marriage counseling covered by insurance, for a deep dive into how all of this works so that you can make informed decisions about what to do in this crossroads moment. And of course, while you're on my website, if you would like to schedule a free consultation to talk to one of the amazing clinicians on my team, I know all of them. I work closely with all of them. They are the real deal marriage and family therapists who use evidence-based practices, and they use coaching psychology, and they're phenomenal. Come to my website, schedule that, growingself.com, schedule free consultation to talk about it. Meet somebody on my team, discuss what's going on in your relationship and how we can help. And thank you so much just for tuning in with me today. I shared a lot of free resources for you, and I have more. If you come to my website, growingself.com, come to the blog and podcast section, and tap into my love collection for all kinds of relationship advice. Also, I host a weekly live stream. You can come to growingself.com/dear-Lisa to submit a question in advance. And don't forget to connect with me on the socials, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, to know when a new podcast is coming out and to get notifications about my live streams. Thanks again for tuning in today.